Hi, fifth graders. I'm back to read the rest of our text, The Islandborn, and we have permission to read the rest of the story from Penguin Random House Publishing. So yesterday I read the beginning of the text and we talked about how our character Lola was feeling in the beginning of the story. We talked about some evidence to prove her feelings. So I'm going to read the rest of the story, and again, we might stop and talk about how Lola's feelings and if they're going to stay the same or if her feelings about the assignment might change. Our feelings for the beginning that we had for Lola were nervous and upset. So we left off when she was talking with her grandmother about the assignment. So let's see what her grandmother has to say. Of course, what I remember most is the beaches. Hee-ha, our beaches are poetry. You know when you hear your favorite poem, that's how it is to be on our beaches. Fish jump from the waves into your lap, and at sunset, sometimes the dolphins will come out of the water to bow goodnight. And up north, where I'm from, there are even whales in the surf. Beach poetry, dolphins, surfing whales, Lola sketched as fast as she could. Lola's mother stuck her head in from the kitchen. Hee-ha, I remember most is the hurricane that hit the island right after you were born. Like the biggest, baddest wolf of all, it huffed and it puffed, and it blew thousands of houses into the sky. Where were we? Lola asked, her eyes wide. We were hiding under the bed is where we were, Abuela said. That's right, her mother said. And you know what? You never cried once. You were such a brave little girl. I wish I could remember that, Lola sighed. Well, it happened, her mother said. And you might not remember the island, but the island remembers you. You should really talk to Mr. Muir, Abuela suggested. He knows more about the island than almost anybody. We tried asking him, Lola said, but he didn't want to help. Mr. Muir can be a little grouchy sometimes. Let me talk to Mr. Muir. I bet we can get him to help. Abuela called downstairs and shouted at Mrs. Muir, who then shouted at Mr. Muir. The old people were always shouting at each other. That's why they talked. That's just how they talked. Maybe Nelson was an old person in training. Go on down, Abuela said. Mr. Muir said he'd try to help. Lola was a little nervous, but that didn't stop her from knocking on his door. Mr. Muir let her in. Look how big you've gotten, Lola. Mr. Muir is in his work. Mrs. Muir let her in. Mr. Muir was in his workshop. Go right in. Mr. Muir looked up from the contraption he was fixing. Your grandma says you've been interviewing people about the island. Lola nodded nervously. Yes, sir. It's for our class assignment. What have they told you? She flipped through her sketches. Blanket bats, more music than air, fruit that makes you cry, beach poems, and a hurricane like a wolf. I see, Mr. Muir said. So no one told you about the monster? Lola's eyes got wide. She shook her head no. Even those who know don't always want to talk about him. Mr. Muir turned toward the old worn map he had of the island. Our island has always been a beautiful place. It was when I was your age, and it is today. But even the most beautiful places can attract a monster. A long time ago, long before you were born, that's exactly what happened. A monster fell upon our poor island. For once, Lola's pencil did not move. Here's a picture of the monster that Lola drew. So I wonder what type of monster was really at the island. Who was really there? Do you think it was a person? It was the most dreadful monster anyone had ever seen. The whole island was terrified, and no one could defeat it. It was just too strong. For 30 years, the monster did as it pleased. It could destroy an entire town with a single word and make a whole family disappear simply by looking at it. Lola's curly hair was uncurling with fear. Did you see the monster, Mr. Muir? Yes, all the time. Were you scared? We were all very scared. Lola's heart was pounding. So what happened next, Mr. Muir? What should always happen to monsters? Heroes rose up. Strong, smart, young women, just like you, Lola, and a few smart young men, too. They got tired of being afraid and fought the monster. With a titanic battle, what a titanic battle that was. The whole island shook from the struggle. The monster tried all of its evil tricks, but in the end, the heroes found the monster's weakness and banished the monsters forever. So Lola's learning about all these heroes from her home country that stood up to the evil monster, or the bad person that was there. So how might you think that makes her feel about where she's from, knowing that there was a lot of heroes there? Whoa, Lola whispered. What happened to the heroes? Well, it was a really long time ago. No one really knows. Mr. Muir took off his glasses and sighed. Anyway, you should get back upstairs. It's getting close to dinner time. Thank you, Mr. Muir, Lola said. Thank you for all of your help. So, after interviewing Mr. Muir, do you think that Lola is still feeling nervous and upset about this assignment? I think her feelings are definitely starting to change. How did it go? Lola's mother said. It was really good. Lola looked at the blank pages in her notebook. So she's saying that her talk with Mr. Muir about her assignment was really good. Lola spent the rest of the night drawing the island. She started out with one page, but she needed more room, so she added another page and then another, and soon she had a book. She worked through dinner and worked in bed and was just finishing the last touches of the cover when her abuela came in to check on her. So she's working on this all night. I think Lola is definitely feeling proud of where she's from. I think she's feeling excited about her assignment. Abuela picked up a drawing of the final battle and got really still. Abuela, did you know the monster? Of course, hija. Why do you think so many of us are here in the north? Lola put her arms around her abuela. You must have been so scared. Sometimes we were. Her abuela whispered, but we were also brave. So she's now learning why her family immigrated to the north of where she lives now. But she's still showing that she's really proud and excited of where she came from. The next day it snowed. Lola put on her scarf and boots and stuffed her assignment under her coat. Good luck, Mr. Muir called. He was pushing garbage cans against the curb. Thank you, Mr. Muir, slayer of monsters. He laughed. Good luck, Lola, daughter of heroes. In the class, as all the students were buzzing about their pictures, Nelson's mother had baked cupcakes for everyone, so it was like a little party. Miss Obie hung the drawings on the wall. Now our classroom has windows, she said. Anytime you want to look at one another's first homes, all you have to do is look out the windows. Then Miss Obie reached Lola's desk. So, how did it go, Lola? Were you able to remember anything? I tried really, really hard. But nothing came, and that made me feel bad. But then I realized that I don't have to feel bad because even if I'd never set foot on the island, it doesn't matter. The island is me. Nelson snorted. That, so corny. It is not. Nelson, be nice, Miss Obie said. She and the other students gathered around Lola's desk. Nelson made sure he got real close so he could see everything. Lola suddenly got nervous. Go ahead, Lola. Show us. Okay, Lola said, taking a deep breath. She opened her book. And out burst the island. So here is her completed assignment. I think that is something to be proud of. And that's the end of the story for today.